The other thing when it comes to a tool here is to have a reframe from get to give. In my last book, I wrote about an actor named Bryan Cranston. He played Walter White in a show called Breaking Bad. And what was interesting about Bryan Cranston is that he spent many, many years in Hollywood not getting a break at all. He was the epitome of a struggling actor. And he was getting on in years. You know, he was in his 30s, he still hadn't gotten a good role yet, and finally he got a piece of advice. And the piece of advice is, every time you go into an audition, instead of trying to get something, what if you started to give something away? Right? Every time you go into an audition, the whole idea is you're trying to get the part, right? But what if you flip that? What if you reframe that and started to give something to the people who are judging you? Give something to the people on the other side of the table. And so he did. He said, every time I'm walking into a room, I'm going to try to give them a unique take on the performance. I'm going to give them something that they haven't seen before, something that will be valuable to them, even if I don't get the part. And he said that as soon as he made that shift from get to give, that reframe from get to give, everything changed. His energy went up. The level of vitality that he would bring into the room went up. The level of charisma and confidence that he had went up, just by saying, I'm not going to try to get something, I'm going to try to give something away. This, by the way, is my number one thing before I come up here on stage. I was having conversations with some folks back there. I've been doing this for a few years now, but I always get butterflies in my stomach. And one of the things I realize is because sometimes I'm trying to get something. I'm trying to get you to like me, or I'm trying to get you to think that I'm impressive. But if I have myself in a get mindset, I'm not going to be able to do what I do best. So when I come up here on stage, my number one job is to give you something. It's to leave you with something. Hopefully some very practical tools and mindsets that you can use. So it's a really interesting thing that you can do anytime you feel like you're stressed or overwhelmed, is shift yourself to say, how do I go right now from get to give? And how do I help the people around me do the same thing?